talk a lot more about the city and talk all about all the fantastic things in the city on the way out from the hotel again. But you can see the sun shining. You've got beautiful Saturday sunshine coming in. It is a Saturday. I know when you're traveling, you sometimes lose track of the days. Up ahead where those buildings are up there, that is the area we're going to be staying in. It's called La Défense, or the Defense, La Défense. And that is a little bit more of like a, there's more offices, a bit more of a business district, but you do have things around there. It's closer than some other hotels I've stayed at on some tours, so towards the center. So on the far west side of the center, you've got La Défense, and then as you move in towards the center, you have got, which we're going to go past on the driving tour, the Arc de Triomphe. And then in a big axis, a horizontal axis that runs straight along, you go La Défense, Arc de Triomphe, Champs-Élysées, Tuileries Gardens, Louvre, and Place de la Concorde in the middle there. So we're going to point out some of those on the drive once we've dropped our bags off. And you are certainly, if you do want, you can stay in town tonight, you know, stay in and go out Saturday night, all the rest of that. It's up to you if you want. But we will head back after dinner. And we have got obviously the included dinner tonight. You've all selected that. And tomorrow we have got, you'll see on this side of Paris, it's a little bit more modern. But when we get into the center proper for our driving tour, you'll see very unique style of Parisian architecture, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. It's beautiful. Paris has turned on the weather for us. It's a nice introduction. And of course, everything we were talking about in terms of the French history that I went through for about an hour there, that all happened here. Much of the French history is centered on Paris. Paris has been more or less the capital for 1,000 years. And it was actually a Roman town as well. It was a Roman town, and the tribe that was living here when the Romans turned up, they were called the Parisi tribe. And they do say that this is where the name comes from, the tribe who was here at the time of the Roman invasion, the Parisi tribe. And of course, the Parisi were part of the Gauls. The Romans were here, then we had the Franks with Charlemagne, we had the modern French kings and queens, and of course all the way up to more recent times, the wars, Charles de Gaulle, the French Republic. And Paris is a big city, as I mentioned. It's about 9 to 10 million people live here. So literally 1 in every 6 people in France lives in Paris or around Paris. So it's a massive city, but given a lot to the world, so much. And we'll talk about all the unique quirks and everything to do with it as we get into the center after we've dropped our bags off. I know that I did say on the day sheet that we need to be back downstairs at 5:15. It's probably going to be a bit ambitious, so we'll say 5:30 we need to be on the coach, everyone. So it gives us a good 35 minutes, half an hour at least. Drop the bags, obviously if you want to use the bathroom, freshen up quickly. And then we will head into the center, do a panoramic drive, head for dinner, and then after dinner we'll come back. And that will be that. Yeah, a few people were asking me about optionals and paying for optionals. I know that there's some people who are doing the best of Western Europe. And some of you guys have mentioned that you do want to join, even though you're finishing the best of Western Europe on the 12th of October, you do want to join the Colosseum or the Vatican on the 13th, because you might be staying in Rome another day. So we'll have a chat, just let me know if you want to do that, and then if everybody else, I'll just have to organize that. And then we can do optional payments once we've got everybody signed up, and once you know what your activities for Western Europe are paid are for. And probably not tonight or tomorrow night, but one of the next nights I can sit down at one of the hotels, or we can sit down somewhere if we're doing like a break, and I can begin to process some of those optional payments with my card machine, app, payment app is the word I'm looking for. So it's coming in. This on the right hand side is the Stade de France. This is where most of the Olympic Games were held last year on the right. It's a big stadium. So this is like the biggest stadium in Paris, most important one. Yeah, many of the Olympic events were held there to the right. So also that's where France won their FIFA World Cup in 1998. So it's like the home of French soccer, French football, also the Olympics. And you can see there's another, you can see the Olympic rings on the other stadium over there. That's the aquatic center. That's where all the swimming events took place at the Olympics last year. I was doing a tour during the Olympics, which was chaos last year, but we did get to see a lot of activity and all sorts of things going on in the city. Style architecture beginning. Look out to the left, look at these buildings, that sort of slate tiled roof, the dark blue grey type of roof that you find on all the buildings. Obviously up ahead we're coming up to a major site that I'll tell you about. And cobbled streets, still a lot of cobbled streets everywhere. And on the left, look at the balustrades, the balconies, the ironwork on a lot of these buildings. This is because of Napoleon III. He basically redeveloped Paris in 1848. So he got an architect by the name of Mr. Baron von Haussmann, and Napoleon III and Haussmann got together, and Paris, remember, was a medieval city still. It was wooden, it was some old stone, and they basically doubled the size or tripled the size of the boulevards, planted all of these beautiful plane trees and oak trees, and the architecture that they decided on was what we now see. So a lot of this is from the 1840s, 1850s, and as you go around, also just even look to the right there, everything's got this incredibly intricate ironwork, shutters on the windows as well, and of course everything is like 5 or 6 stories high. So now we're getting to the center, you see, and you have a bit more of a sense of like what the center of Paris is really like. Like any city in the world, every city has good bits, every city has bad bits, but in the center here it's really charming. I mean, look at this, the tops of these buildings, how intricate the concrete work is and the steel work. It's really lovely. And up ahead, you may have seen that before. So as you look up ahead, you may have seen this beautiful building. This is, in English, it's the Triumphal Arch, but in French it's known as the Arc de Triomphe. And this is an incredible, incredible monument dedicated to the glories of the French. This was begun during Napoleon's reign in the early 1800s. So it was about 1806, 1807 that they began building this, dedicated to him, his troops, the French, their glories. Because remember, those first few years of the 1800s, Napoleon pretty much conquered most of Europe without opposition. He marched around, he conquered, took over different countries for the French. However, construction began to slow down drastically when he began to lose battles. He started losing the battles and they just stopped building, basically. So this is a good 50 meters, 150 feet tall. It is about 95, 100 feet wide. It's quite deep as well. And look at how intricate the friezes and the motifs are. So you've got different battle scenes. Ben's going to go around this a couple of times. So when you go around a couple of times, you can get some nice photos. We can go around 2 or 3 times for you. This roundabout as well. Look at the traffic.
Doing a video.
Not you, Ben, but everybody else. Look at the traffic. There are no lanes. You know, it's kind of find your own lane type of setup. And they say that sometimes travel insurance doesn't cover you at the Arc de Triomphe if you're driving. So if you stay here, they say for half an hour, you will see a few vehicles crashing, colliding. It's a little bit wild, but look at all the boulevards radiating out from the Arc de Triomphe. There's 12 avenues that go out and about. And this one coming up to the right-hand side, where, not to our right now, but coming up to the right now, this is the Champs-Élysées. Straight down there is the Champs-Élysées. That is the most prestigious, most famous, most busy street. Big brands all the way up and down there. And into the left, the Arc de Triomphe again. We're going to go around a couple of times, folks, so you get some nice pics and see a good sense of it. So on the inside of the Arc, look at that. Those are the battles that Napoleon and his troops won. So all of the victories, names of generals, and you know, I say this a lot, but we have forgotten how to build monuments like this. This was eventually completed in the 1830s, you know, a good 20 years after Napoleon died. They completed it, and today it stands as one of these outstanding monuments to Paris, to the French, and to the glories of Napoleon and his armies. It's magic, isn't it? Of course, the Tour de France, they go around here a few times. On the last day of the Tour de France, they go up and down the Champs-Élysées, up around the Arc de Triomphe. We may not get a glimpse out to the right, but La Défense, maybe we'll see it after this bus. There's La Défense down there. You see the business district to the right. We're staying down there, and you see how there's an arch. They built an arch there as well. See that big rectangular arch? So you've got La Défense, you've got Arc de Triomphe to the left, all the way down Champs-Élysées to the far left there. Place de la Concorde, the Louvre, it all flows. And obviously straight up ahead you can see the tip of the Eiffel Tower. So we're going to do another little loop-de-loop. In the center is the eternal flame. That is dedicated to all of the soldiers of France who have lost their lives serving the country. And the only time that the eternal, so every single night there's a wreath laying ceremony. But the only time that the eternal flame there has ever been put out was during World Cup 1998. There was a drunk supporter who unfortunately put it out by his own force, if that makes ample arch. So unfortunately, when Napoleon began losing victories during his reign, they just stopped constructing. They thought, it may not happen. They didn't want to build something that wasn't going to be completed if they weren't victorious, but yeah, about 30 years later they finished it in the 1830s. So it's been standing nearly 200 years, the Arc de Triomphe. And you can go all the way up to the top of it. I can't remember how much it costs now, but you can climb all the stairs. There's a lot of stairs going up to the top. And then here, as we go through this part of Paris, you're going to see a little bit different side of town. Look at this building on the right, the Wheatstone British pub. That's funny. You can see the shutters. Look at the faces above all the windows. You see the heads carved above the windows. So everything in Paris is just very detailed, very intricate. They haven't spared any expense to make it look nice and beautiful, and it's meant to give you this feeling of kind of sophistication, grandeur. Also, a lot of the buildings, when they redeveloped them with from the 1840s, and they widened all the boulevards, they ended up on some of the buildings putting on an extra angle on the front. And what I mean by that is not all the buildings have a square or a right angle. Not all of them have a 90-degree angle. Like, look at these ones on the right there. There's an oblique angle or there's a rounded angle. So that's very Parisian as well. You won't find that in many other major capitals to the same extent. So they've added on like an extra angle to the front of many of the buildings where they have another doorway. And most of Paris lives in apartments. Many people live in these apartment blocks. About 60% of the city, 60 to 70%. You can imagine the rent on some of these places nearby is fairly expensive. But also, as you can see with all the vehicles, nobody has massive vehicles, huge trucks, huge cars, because space is such a premium. With 9-10 million people, you can't really have huge four-wheel drives everywhere and big trucks and stuff. So everybody has, motorbikes or very small, like smart cars. Have you seen some of them already? Some of the small, tiny little ones. This district up here, there's lots of embassies around. You can see different embassies of different countries. And this is also a lovely time of year to get these leaves changing colours. You get these oak trees and plane trees changing colours. So one thing you will notice in a lot of central Paris, there are these cobbles everywhere. And these cobbles are all done by hand. So things are cobbled by hand. The buildings that to the left and right, these are all older buildings, and they're all maintained to the level that you'd expect when they were built. So this is also something beautiful that they do in many parts of Europe, is they actually make the city, even if it's a new city, they make it look old by the way that they update some of the architecture. You can see all the way around Paris, as in London. London is the tube or the underground. In Paris, it's called the metro. Just to the right here is a little metro station. So look for a big M, or look for the metro. We're going past it on the right there. Can you see it says M9? So that's metro line number 9. And I'll talk a little bit more about the metro. These are one of the generals on the left there from the French Revolutionary times. Yeah, these are a lot of these are residential. Most of these buildings are residential. Ground floors are usually commercial, and then people live up above in these buildings. That's a line to get in, this one on the corner here to the right. Not all like that, don't worry, not all like that, but look, everybody looks out into the street. That one not so much, but many of them, like this place on the right there, look, everybody's got chairs facing out to the street. You see it on the right there? And also look to the left, folks. Surprise! We're going to surprise stop for you, me and Ben here. We're going to hop out the coach and go take some photos. So please we're going to try and be fairly quick. It's unscheduled that we the way from up there back out this way from a huge height to the Eiffel. Black Tower at the very back there, yeah, that's Montparnasse. That's the second tallest in Paris, and we're going to go all the way up to the top there on Paris Plus and get views of everything. So this little area, this is called Trocadero, and how did the Eiffel Tower come about? What was the idea behind it? Well, there was an architect. He was actually a bridge builder by the name of Mr. Gustav Eiffel. And if anybody has been to Portugal, Porto, he designed a very famous bridge. It looks just like the Eiffel Tower, but lying down. And they liked his designs. They thought, yeah, it looks pretty good, you know, let's contract his services. And in 1888, Paris was given the chance to host the World's Fair. So the World's Fair, you know, they have this every few years in different places. They chose Paris, and Paris got the chance to do something special. What did they decide? They got Eiffel to design this tower for engineering purposes, to showcase how great an architect he was. And so they designed it, and it took a while to go up, and once it was built, everybody hated it. Because look at these old buildings, you know, you've got these beautiful old buildings here, and imagine this is the 1880s, 1890s. People hated it. They said, oh, it's ugly, it doesn't fit, it's not meant to be there. It was only meant to stand for 1 year. It was only meant to stand for a single year. And how did they get around it? Well, Mr. Eiffel put his office at the top. The very top floor became his office. So he said, no, we can't knock it down now. I've got an office up there. And it kept standing, particularly when they realized it was perfect for being a receiver and a sender of radio waves. To the very top, it's still used actually to transmit some radio waves. So it's standing at 308 meters tall, which is 1,000 feet, over 1,000 feet. And they say that when it gets very hot in Paris, it expands by a couple of meters. By about 10 feet it grows. So it's made out of pig iron. Thousands and thousands and thousands of tons of pig iron. Every few years they paint it, and they spend, I think, 80 tons or so worth of paint has to go into that, and it's crazy the amount of numbers when you break it all down. There are also the 4 different legs that support it, and those have got elevators and stairs going all the way up. When the Nazis conquered and held for 4 years Paris, they knew that Hitler was going to come and have a look at it. And the French resistance, you guys, have you heard of the French resistance? They were the underground French people who were trying to sabotage the Nazi occupation here. The French resistance basically heard that Hitler was coming, wanted to go up the elevator, so they cut the elevator shaft in the middle of the night. So he had to walk all the way to the top. It was their little kind of dig at him. But you can actually walk all the stairs all the way to the top. It's kind of crazy. The first level, there's one level up, and that is a little cafe, and there's actually an ice skating rink in the winter on that first floor. Then you go up to the second floor, and there's a very expensive restaurant, nice views. And then the very top floor is a little observation platform. And there's some fun stories about it. Over the course of its history, so as I said, it was only meant to stand for a year, then they realized they could use it for broadcasting. And then what did they realize? Con artists got involved. And one guy in the 1920s sold the Eiffel Tower to a Japanese scrap metal firm. And he cashed out, I don't know how many millions it would be in today's currency. But yeah, he basically convinced some Japanese buyers that he was going to sell and scrap the Eiffel Tower for scrap metal. And yeah, took home the money and disappeared. And here's a fun fact for you. The Eiffel Tower gets about 6.5 million people a year. They estimate that over its history, you've had something like 250 million have gone up. So you can do the numbers on the generation of the income for Paris just from that alone. But there is an item, there is a place, I should say, in Europe that gets more visitors than the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre combined. gets about 14 million visitors a year. Any guesses? It's not Notre Dame, no. It's not Colosseum, it's Euro Disney. It's Paris Disneyland, actually. Paris Disneyland, Euro Disney gets more visitors than the Eiffel and the Louvre combined. So we're back up at the arch, and all the avenues that are going out from here are all named after generals. Look to the left, folks, you can see the laying of the wreath every single day at 6:30. They have a band up here, and good time to get back on the coach because it's starting to rain again. And now we are going down the Champs-Élysées. Champs-Élysées. Everybody's umbrellas are coming out. People are running. Let's wave at them. So the Champs-Élysées. This is the Champs-Élysées, folks. Those of us on Paris Plus will be coming back here tomorrow. But a chance now for all of us to drive down and have a look. This is the most expensive real estate in Paris. So you're talking 6- and 7-figure rent on some of these properties. You see the McDonald's on the left? The only one in the world that has white arches that I know. Not golden arches, but white arches. That tells you the level of prestige on the street. And look to the right, this enormous building here. That is the Louis Vuitton flagship store. It looks like a suitcase. Can you see it? You'll have a look as we drive past to the right. You can often, you need to take out a few mortgages to get in there. There's also a hotel section attached to it, and I can't remember. I think it's 10,000 a night or something. Wow. Something crazy. Oh. Uh-oh. That guy's driving away. The police are following. Making a run for it. So yeah, this is the old Louis Vuitton on the right. So yeah, it's I always love how intricate the carvings and the doorways are, and of course tomorrow when we get to see Notre Dame, many of us, the entrance and the doorway going into Notre Dame is equally, if not even more impressive than what we see on the left there. And we'll just slowly make our way through a little bit of traffic. We're going to go left up here. You might catch a quick glimpse of the river. What we have up ahead, everybody? Any guesses? Well, that is, ladies and gents, that is the Hôpital des Invalides. So, during Louis XIV and also all the way to Louis XVI, during their wars, a lot of these soldiers came back injured, some permanently, some could not work again. What happened? Well, Louis XIV decided we're going to make an enormous hospital/hostel for all of the returned injured or disabled soldiers. So that was built for them. And a bit further up you've got the old, very similar looking École Militaire, the military college, where characters like Napoleon and such trained. And up ahead, that is the dome of it, you can see. Underneath that dome lies none other than the tomb of Napoleon. So Napoleon's tomb is in that building. So when he died, they exiled him before he died, first of all to the island of Elba, which is in the Mediterranean. Then he came back and he had one final attempt, and that failed. And so what did they do? They exiled him to the island of Saint Helena, which is in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, like halfway between South Africa and Argentina. It's way down there, middle of nowhere. And he died there, and then they brought his remains back to Paris, and they put them into up there the Hôpital des Invalides. And then this bridge here, this is the Pont Alexander. You can see over there to the left as well the Montparnasse Tower creeping up, black tower at the back that we're going to go up tomorrow. And look at all this gold in front of us on the top of the bridge and on the dome. This is gold, gold and gold leaf. So this bridge, Pont Alexander, it's meant to symbolize the friendship from a good 120 years ago or so between the French and the Russians. So everybody would give each other gifts, of course, back in the days, and this was meant as a symbol there for that. And yeah, you can see places to eat, places to drink, but yeah, bear in mind if you're going to come back here and shop, eat, drink, etc., it's the most expensive street in France. So you know, even those little apartments up there to the left, you're talking, yeah, multi-million. I mean, I think some of them are like 8-9 million euros just for a little apartment up there because of the location, because of the street. And this is named after the Elysian Fields, which, you know, Greek mythology is where all the souls sort of after victorious battles. And when France has Bastille Day, so remember they have the Bastille Day parade, which is the 14th of July, celebrating the revolution, celebrating independence and liberty. And you know, France has got these three. Its motto is Liberté, Fraternité, and the other one, anybody know? Égalité. So liberty, fraternity, equality. And you always see those three with the RF, République Française, Republic, the French Republic. So yeah, beautiful buildings, beautiful shops all the way down here. On the right hand side there's this place there, Fouquet's, can you see on the right? The red roof. I went there once and I was like looking at the menu because I was interested. A cup of tea I think is 16 euros. 15 or 16 euros, just a little cup of tea at that place there. And so when they do the Bastille Day parades, as I was saying, they actually line the streets. Everybody's lining the streets up and down. There's parades, and they bring a lot of tanks, military stuff, parades up and down here. The president stands out and salutes them. So it's a special military parade that they do on the Bastille Day. And yeah, some of us are coming back here tomorrow at Champs-Élysées to try some delicious macarons first thing in the morning. So from the home of the macarons. So Bastille Day is a huge event. The whole country basically shuts down. And in Paris, on this very street, people are marching, troops, tanks, missiles are paraded up and down. It's a huge event, huge spectacle, and there's a massive fireworks display as well. So it's like the big national day here in France. And also, this street is famous as well for the Tour de France. If you get the chance to watch the Tour de France, the last day, the very last day, as they're coming into Paris, on the left and the right where we're driving now, there are huge grandstands built. And this is the final stage. You enter Paris and you go up and down the Champs-Élysées, I think it's 12 times. So you start at the bottom, which we're driving up to now, which is the Place de la Concorde. and they go up the Champs-Élysées, they go around the Arc de Triomphe, back down the Champs-Élysées, so it's 12 times up and down. And then they have a final sprint to finish the Tour de France. And then lots of champagne. So yeah, all sorts up and down here. Lots of good people watching opportunities as well.
There's a lot of cafes. Huh? What is that? It's a night day.
So, you know, as always on this trip or when you travel, it's really hard to do everything in one go. Every city, you know, especially a city of 9-10 million people. But yeah, we thought tonight we'd do a little drive. We've got a perfect photo op there before the rains came down,
Yeah.
and just to show you a little bit of Paris, because you know we're going to have the chance to see it from the coach. We're going to have the chance to walk around tomorrow. We're going to try some food. We're going to do all of those good things. Squeeze in a few more sights for you here. So to the right, we're going to take a little right here. There's this guy on the corner, a statue. Do you see the statue? That is the famous Charles de Gaulle, the man himself. He was the World War II leader. He exiled in London during World War II, and he came out and led the French Republic all the way through. He said famously, "My only rival internationally is Tintin." And these beautiful buildings here, this is the Grand Palais to the right, the Grand Palace, and to the left is the Petit Palais, the Little Palace. And these are art exhibitions. They have incredible, always changing exhibitions at these beautiful Grand and Petit Palais. And you know, these date back to the end of the 1800s. So again, they've kept that sort of unique Paris architecture. They've updated it as they've needed to in this modern century, but beautiful, beautiful old buildings. Grand and the Petit Palais. Lots of exhibitions up here. It's part of the this part of it, what we're going to take down tomorrow to go down to Montparnasse, and Latin Quarter is further ahead. You can maybe just make out a quick glimpse through the trees of Notre Dame up there ahead. So, you know the old fire in Notre Dame, right? Do you remember that? Terrible fire a few years ago. They're not sure who started it, but they have a hunch. No, terrible. I know. I'll be here all week. However, the renovations are still ongoing. Still ongoing. It's going to be going for a while. Ah. Well, I'm not. You guys were in there just before the fire, you said. Suspicious. Ah, very suspicious. Oh, a year before the fire. Okay. I thought
That's cute.
thought you just before the fire started. Ah. Okay. Ladies and gents, look to your left. This is it's quite beautiful with the clouds and the sky there, isn't it? This is the Place de la Concorde, or the place of Concorde, the place of peace. Across there, look to the right. Do you see that building with the French flag on the top? The one next to the bridge, not the other one. That is the Assemblée Nationale, the National Assembly. That is the government building. That's where politicians go, representatives go, they sit, they make laws, they dictate what they're going to do, etc. So the idea of Place de la Concorde, you're going to see it in a little while's time. It is the place of peace between, on the right-hand side, the state, the government, and through that gap there, beyond where that crane is, you can see in the distance, you'll see another very similar looking building, which is called the Madeleine. We'll drive up that way. And the idea of Place de la Concorde is the place of peace between the government and between the church. So Madeleine is a church. So the idea being that France is a secular country, you can practice whatever religion you want, and Place de la Concorde here on the left is where you have the place of peace between the state and the church. Now, what is that standing there in the middle? That is a 3,000-year-old Egyptian obelisk. So Napoleon brought that back from Egypt. Obviously, when he brought it back, it was already nearly 2,800 years old. And we'll get close enough to see, perhaps on it, some of the hieroglyphs. And that's also a little bit of gold leaf on the top of it. And this square as well has got a little bit of a dark past, even though it's quite light now with that sunlight. This is the square where during the French Revolution all of the public executions took place. So you know how these days we go and watch football games and this sort of stuff? This is where during the French Revolution they had a giant guillotine set up there in the middle, and Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette and many thousands of others were pulled up there onto the platform and had their heads chopped off.
Oh boy.
So this is the square of the public executions, which took place during the French Revolution 230 years ago. This is neoclassical. So this is actually from the late 1700s, but it's built to look like it is from ancient Rome or ancient Greece. You can see there's Jesus at the very top, and this is, it's a functioning church, Catholic church actually. Sometimes weddings in there and all sorts of things going on, but it is meant to look like it's from ancient Greece or ancient Rome. So classical architecture is what we'll see in Rome. That's the Colosseum and those ancient things. This is neoclassical. This means that they've tried to recreate the classical architecture. So we're going to learn all the different styles of architecture on the trip. For example, do you remember that golden dome that we saw just before? With Hôpital des Invalides, Napoleon's tomb. That is Baroque. So the Baroque architecture is all about opulence, lots of domes, lots of gold, intricate details. So you'll see all the different ones. And then, for example, Notre Dame is Gothic. Stained glass windows, gargoyles, steeples. So yeah, you guys are going to be experts in all the architectural styles. And there's a quiz at the end, by the way, so you have to just to see who's paying attention. But yeah, look how deep the church goes to the left there. And so they still have ceremonies in there. So we are going to continue up this road for a little bit more, and we will hop out in a few minutes' time. We just obviously see how we go with traffic. About 8 or 10 minutes up the road. We will hop out, and our restaurant is just up ahead there. We're going to go in. I will post the meal options in the group,